Where's Jay? Yes, sir. I think so. I have several of those.
Yes.
Maybe we can get two more of those.
Yes, we have it.
Okay. See, I took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Two more.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
We have some water back here. A bit more.
Okay.
I lowered the heat. Not too hot in here already.
Okay.
It's a beautiful.
Yeah.
It's good to see everybody gathering to honor Errol. I'll be back.
Okay.
Two more.
Thank you.
Ari.
I think have maybe Steve Royal. You think that'd be nice?
Steve Royal.
A wrestling's dad.
Okay, yeah. I'll ask him. I'll invite him after Ari.
Or just
Steve Royal sounds good. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds
so-
great. Yeah. Royal, like the street Royal.
Wrestling's dad.
Russell's dead. Yeah, Steve
I
Royal.
think that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think like if
We
who
have
else,
to. Great.
Who else would be an honor? This is pretty intense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We're lighting it up a little bit. Don't worry. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's still the order of operation,
You got it.
which is Jill and then you.
Yeah.
Then Harold's friends, David
Yes.
Aarons and Lenny Klein.
Yes.
And Rick Lukash.
Yes.
And what about grandson?
And then the
Grandkids?
grandsons are at the end.
So I called Drew and
Drew and then you haul them all up together.
all the grandkids.
Yeah. I think Russin might come with Jill and speak for a second, but that's fine.
Great. Yeah, he did in the funeral. He did in the funeral. Jay, can I start? Ladies and gentlemen, while you may be seated, we're gathered here today. The memorial service officially opens the Shiva. Harold Lee Ceitlin, Tzvi Ben Yitzchak Vesima. You know, coming in yesterday, last evening, definitely first time in Birmingham, Alabama, which was great to be away from Dallas due to our football team great success last night. It really worked well not to be at home. And I came in really first time and I didn't know what to expect. I never thought there were Jews in Alabama, I'll tell you that. Well, coming from Israel, I probably never heard of Alabama until a few years ago when I met Jay. And so coming in to the heart of the neighborhood that once had the nickname the kibbutz, I understood and I met so many Jews that their roots are here and lived in the same neighborhood, and I was amazed because really walking into your home last night, you could feel the wave of love and care and warmth and support and friendship and fellowship, which is an amazing thing to see and to experience. I think above all, it's a testimony of Harold's personality. I mean, there are here, I'm fortunate enough to know big parts of the family from the Dallas side, and suddenly I see, cousins from Canada are here. From Canada, I should say. I sound like an Israeli suddenly, but that's okay. Understanding that, the travel all the way from Toronto to be here, and that's, well, part of it I'm sure it's for Jay, but really that's just I spoke to Avi and his brothers and said, Harold is a great guy, he was the funnest to hang out with. Some of them said it's funner to hang out with Harold than Jay. So, you should know that that's what people say. And we sat together, the family. I heard so many amazing stories, which some are not to be repeated here, but so many amazing stories about an amazing guy that above all, always kept a positive attitude. and had something good to say. And someone who was an agent of goodness, of promotion of goodness, to take pride in his grandkids and his kids and sons-in-law and daughters-in-law and everybody around, and to speak good about other people and promote goodness, which is an amazing thing to see in times that society is so fixed on talking bad and fighting what's wrong. Harold is finding what's right and going to bring it above the surface and put it on a pedestal and make small things great and sound amazing. I sat with Jay when we sat at home and we went over pictures and videos, and I saw a man that his grandkids brought so much joy to his life that will tear when Cole surprises him in his birthday when Cole was 3. And that famous dentist would just sit in his office and start to cry because the little grandson walks in and say, "Hey, Grandpa, happy birthday." Man that put his family above all, and that his love to the state of Israel was an unconditional love. I mean, I don't know if in the early 70s, to go to Israel to work in a kibbutz and volunteer in a mission will be my preferred honeymoon, but obviously it was yours. Such a passionate Zionist Jew that understands the core of our nation. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, "Kol sheruach habriot nocha himeno, ruach hamakom nocha himeno." It's a famous saying, the Mishnah that carries the code of the ethics of our fathers and mothers. So a person who brings pleasure to other human beings thereby brings delight to the Creator. And in other words, someone that people like, Hashem likes that person too. And as it comes evident from everybody around here, Harold Lee Ceitlin, Tzvi ben Yitzchak, very much liked by his people. As the code of our Mishnah, we understand that Hashem is probably having fun with him right now at the golf course somewhere. Because someone that we love down here, the Almighty loves up there. Times of grief, as we are mourning the loss and the big hole that is left in our hearts, we are united with many other families of our nation, the nation of Israel, in the state of Israel, that are grieving, that are mourning the loss of their loved ones, innocent civilians that were killed just because they dared to live life in the promised land of the Jewish people. Of soldiers, men and women, that fell in battle, defending the borders of our homeland. Of families, at least one that lost their loved one this morning in a terror attack in Ra'anana. And that grief here waves on with the general feeling. The general feeling was the pulse, which is our nation's pulse. And I think that in time like that, we have to really learn from Errol to keep up the positive attitude, to understand that whatever we're experiencing right now, as a family, as a community, as a nation, we will live on. The legacy will never die, and we will come out stronger and better. Definitely better people, because we learned the lessons that we must learn from the people that meant so much to us. And now that they're gone, they're only physically gone. But the life lessons and the legacy lives on. I would like to open the memorial service with Psalm 23. I'd like to invite Mr. Ari Feinstein to read it in English. I will say the Hebrew and then you will have the English part. מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לא אחסר, בנאות דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי ישובב, ינחני ומעגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דישנת ושמן ראשי כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside the still waters. God revives my spirit and guides me in paths of righteousness for God's name's sake. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, and for you are with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall follow me all of the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Roll Tide.
I'd like to invite Mr. Royal, Steve Royal. Steve Royal, please come here and help. We're going to read Psalm 121 in English. Unless you want to change, and you'll do the Hebrew and I'll do the English? Okay.
You are the rabbi.
All right, so. שיר למעלות, אשא עיני להרים מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם אדוני עושה שמיים וארץ. אל יתן למוט רגליך, אל ינום שומרך. הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל. אדוני שומרך, אדוני יצילך על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה וירח בלילה. אדוני ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם.
I will lift up my eyes to the mountains. From where? Where will my help come? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. Who will not allow your foot to give way, who guards you and will not slumber. For the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your protection at your right hand. The sun shall not smite you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall keep you from all evil, and shall keep your soul. The Lord shall guard your going out and your coming in, from this time forth and forever. Hook 'em.
I'd like to call upon Jill. Come and share a few words.
Stop laughing, Jay. I'm Jill Ceitlin Royal, Harold Ceitlin's favorite daughter. I have to start by saying that my dad would have the most FOMO ever right now. He would want to see you, look you in the eye, and smile. He would not want to miss the party. Honestly, I've struggled how I can really capture all the things Dad meant to me and to us in this one single moment. It's actually impossible, but Dad's response to that would be, all Ceitlins are geniuses. So here goes genius, I guess. Dad had so many amazing gifts and qualities, many of which I share with him. And there's so many reasons I'm thankful that I'm his daughter, and I'm going to highlight a few of his qualities and passions. The night I actually sat down to write my first thoughts for this moment, Dad was alive. It was mid-November. I sat with him for the majority of the day after a few series of bad days. And overwhelmed with emotion after seeing him like that, I flipped my laptop open that night to write down a few thoughts. About 5 minutes later, he called me, and with pep in his voice, he said, well, the lady gave me the works, and I feel like human. Positive mental attitude, PMA, as Dad started to call it later in life. Without Dad's positive attitude, we probably would be standing here 2 or 3, even 3 years ago. His energy and positivity carried him and us, quite honestly, through his entire life. I found an old email from him in 2019. I must have had a really hard day of parenting because he sent me a story of a woman who had a mom hack that helped him through the witching hours with her kids. He shared the story and he wrote, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Don't sweat the small stuff. He reminded me, Mom, and Jay recently also, don't sweat the small stuff. Of all the wonderful qualities he gave me and he shared with us, it was his sense of humor that may be my favorite. If Dad were here today, he would say something like, Aunt Leah would say, don't you know it's bad luck to have a funeral on a Monday? His humor was infectious, and it was part of his resilience. Dad's humor is something I will miss so deeply. We could look at each other from across the room, throw our heads back and laugh. He sent us jokes or read us jokes constantly. A few weeks ago, we asked Dad, is there anything we can get you? He jokingly responded, just some cyanide. He kept his humor to the very end. He was the absolute best to laugh with, and honestly, I'm not sure anyone will ever laugh like that with me again. The next quality I'm going to talk about, I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need y'all's participation, so those who've worked with me before know how this works. If you're able, I need you to stand up. If you ever took a tequila, vodka, or some type of shot with Dad, I need you to stand. Thank you. Okay. Dad was the life of the party. He was the dad you actually wanted at the party. Just ask my high school friends who always came to our house to hang out, or college friends about parents' visits to Ann Arbor and joining an epic bar hop. Everyone from Ann Arbor to DC to Chicago and even Spain had a drink, a dance, or a laugh with Dad. He even asked Rustin to save him a dance at the wedding where the two of us eventually met. He always wanted to be at the party, greeted people with a smile, a sparkle in his eye that made you feel like family, a hi y'all, or roll tide. He definitely has FOMO right now. He loved life, he worked hard, he played hard. As crazy as it may sound, one of my favorite qualities that I certainly got from him was his stubbornness. Rustin, I'm sorry you may feel slightly differently about that, but I sort of love it. Let me paint a picture. Well, I've been trying to think of a single story, and I can't think of a single story about his stubbornness, but certainly I can think of something that would highlight our mutual hard-headedness. But he would say, Jilly, stop being so stubborn, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. What you wrote is perfect. So, fuck it. Let's just say being headstrong served you and me well, Dad. Dad had a lot of passions. I could go on about our similar passions and likes. He was a science guy, I'm a science girl. He loved golf, and I would send him videos of my swing to get his advice. He was super handy, artistic, perfectionist, and let's just say when we moved into our house recently, I went room to room and noticed that a mirror was out of line with a counter or a faucet. So naturally, I had to point out to the 3-centimeter mistake to the construction guys how to do it right. He absolutely loves surprises. I love surprises. And obviously, all of these things I got from him. But let's start with one of the most natural passions of all, college football. A very close second love for his family was, of course, his love for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We watched games as a family, yelled at the TV like nobody's business, jumped on couches, traded seats if we weren't winning to switch up the luck. When I arrived at the University of Michigan, my friends thought I was insane, not just for being a passionate Bama fan, but just an avid football fan in general. He taught us there's nothing like Alabama football and the SEC. And for all of you wondering, yes, I'm a Michigan fan, but you can take the girl out of Bama, and you can't take the Crimson Tide out of the girl. And Dad would kill me right now if I said anything but Roll Tide. I don't know if Dad foresaw Saban's retirement or if Coach Saban decided to retire because one of his biggest fans wasn't going to be around next season either. Roll Tide forever. Another passion was being our cheerleader. Dad was always my cheerleader and Jay's. Sometimes it was quiet, but to others it was always bold and loud. He never hesitated to tell other people about my accomplishments. Jill did this in school, Jill's working here, Jill lived there. And when I went to him for advice, he always made me feel like he trusted whichever decision I was going to make. He offered thoughts, but mostly instilled confidence in me. Don't get me wrong, he certainly had pretty strong opinions. But most times he was there to listen and help me see whatever my gut was trying to tell me. He always believed in me. I always felt loved, supported, and he gave us everything to live the lives that we have today. What more could you ask for? Travel. As far back as I can remember, he was either talking about a trip he had taken or planning the next adventure with Mom or with all of us. The pictures, the stories, the details, the cities, the excursions. It was part of our everyday life. Just a few weeks ago, we were sitting outside on the patio in Dallas, and he recounted his entire 1972 summer backpacking trip through Europe. So it's no wonder that one of my passions in life is travel. Dad took me on my very first international trip when I was 12, just the two of us, to Costa Rica. And that's all it took for me. I traveled, worked, lived abroad, and I have Dad to thank for planting that seed. I even managed to get whatever gene that carries the extremely meticulous, over-the-top, researching, itinerary planning aspect of travel, too. I'm thankful for all of our adventures together, especially to Peru, where Rustin and I got to travel with him and Mom, and of course, our last international trip together to the place he held extremely close to his heart, to Israel, Am Yisrael Chai. And finally, passion for family. Thank you, Dad and Mom, for the gift of your marriage, for this family, all of these cousins and aunts that you see, and our uncles that have passed. Dad's biggest passion. As the baby of the Ceitlin family, I always felt loved and supported, that my family were also friends and confidants. It's an indescribable bond that Dad helped form and one that he cherished. And before I close, I have to toot the horn, as Dad would say, of two people, my brother and my mom. Basically, get yourself someone like Jay Ceitlin in your life. Over the last 3 years, Jay, you were the quarterback, lead blocker. You fought and advocated so hard for Dad. You supported me and Mom, too. Dad was and always will be so proud of you. Mom, you're the ultimate caregiver and wife to Dad. For 48 plus years, and especially the last 3, you never tired, wavered, or complained. You're an inspiration to what partnership really means, and I love you. I found the speech that I gave at our wedding recently, and when speaking to Dad, I recalled his words that he shared at our grandfather's funeral. He spoke about our Papa's 5 keys to a long life: faith, family, optimism, education, and sports. In reality, Dad had those same keys, and I would just add 2 more. Laugh often and work hard, play hard. And to me, this really signifies l'ador v'ador. From generation to generation, his dad passed it to him, he passed it to us. Unfortunately, Avi and Somi only got the smallest glimpse of my dad in their very young lives. So it will be up to me and us and our family to remind them. Just like me, they both already have so many qualities of dad. And for Javi and Somi, we will pass on this message. Have a positive mental attitude. Be happy. Laugh a lot. Work hard. Play hard. Love Israel. Love your family. Don't sweat the small stuff. And of course, roll Tide.
So I'm Russin Royal. I'm Harold Ceitlin's favorite son-in-law. I met Harold and Julie a few weeks before I met Jill, about 10 years ago. And one of the things that stuck out with me from that moment is just how engaging Harold was, and obviously Julie too. And their warmth and interest in me and the questions that they would ask and that desire to get to know me is something that I will really never forget and will always treasure. A couple years after Jill and I were first married, I was on the phone with Julie and Harold, and Jill's traveling. And a buddy of mine calls me, and I click over, and I'm like, I'm talking to Julie and Harold, let me call you back. And he's like, is everything okay? I was like, yeah. He's like, what? Jill's not there. I was like, no, she's traveling. He goes, and you're on the phone with Julie and Harold? I said, yeah. He goes, did you call them? I said, yes. And I was like, all right, let me call you back. But that's the relationship that we had. And he had that relationship with so many people, and so many people who were family and who weren't family. And my dad tells me the other day that they have the same mailman, and he told the mailman that Harold had passed away, and the mailman became emotional. And this morning, Dad pointed out the mailman at Elmwood who was there for Harold. And to me, the legacy that Harold will leave is about the people in this room and the impact that he had on so many people. But most importantly, what touches me is seeing the number of people who came in from all over the country and even Canada because they loved Harold, but they also loved Julie, and they loved Jay, and they loved Jill. And his legacy will always live through them and through us.
I'd like to call upon Jay.
It's double-spaced and big, so. Good morning. First of all, Jill might have plagiarized some of my We didn't compare, but it's going on at Harvard and other schools, so. I want to start by saying Coach Saban knew he probably wasn't going to win another game, because how could he? Dad wouldn't be there cheering Bama on, yelling at the TV, or making sure we were all in the right seats, wearing the right clothes, legs crossed the right way. I don't know, maybe we should all change seats right now so I don't mess this up. About 6 weeks ago, when I was flying down with Dad to Houston for treatment, we started talking about hard topics. I asked who he wanted to give his eulogy at his funeral. He turned and looked at me and said, "You and Jill, of course." And I'm gonna struggle, so you'll have to bear with me. He said, "Mom, of course, won't want to speak." With tears in my eyes and without hesitation, I said, "Of course, Dad, I'd be honored." And then he looked me right in the eye and said, "You better make it funny." And we looked at each other, and I just said, "That's real funny, Dad." I was lucky to have over 3 years with him after his cancer diagnosis. This priceless time with him was a blessing, even the days that were the most challenging. I asked him a few months ago if he was angry. He said, "About what?" I said, "The incurable cancer diagnosis and the fact that The Birmingham urologist totally missed the diagnosis. He took a minute and said, "Jay, shit happens. I just didn't want it to be this big of a shit." We were hysterically laughing. He said, "Please, Jay, do not say I was tough and strong and a fighter and any of that shit, please. I went through all of the treatment, et cetera, because I loved my life and I love living every day." He then said, "I would love to go back and do it all over again." I said, "All? Even living in Eddie Ceitlin's house as a teenager?" He looked at me and said, "No, I was thinking more like time with my grandkids, fraternity brothers at Tulane, and on the golf course with the guys." Speaking of Eddie Ceitlin, he really did spoil us. Living to 106 really messed us up. I don't think any of us would ever have imagined he would have outlived Harold by 30 years. It's an entire lifetime. That being said, Dad packed a lot into his 76 years and really enjoyed all of it. Growing up, Dad played the stereotypical dad role in the house. I have had a lot of time to reminisce on my childhood with him, and I was really lucky. He and Mom were so great and also played good cop, bad cop so very well. He was strict and expected good manners, yes sir and no sir, and pushed a very strong work ethic. I was never deprived, nor did I ever feel that way. He and Mom encouraged me to work hard and taught me the value of $1 from a very young age. I was a rule follower for the most part, except one time that just happened to have come up with Dad in the last week before he passed. Carrie was there, and she's going to tell me that she would tell it better than me, but when he was confused and agitated last week, I was laying next to him in the middle of the night trying to soothe him. He wanted to make sure I was really me. I asked him if I had ever lied to him, and he held up one finger. He wanted me to tell him the story. So I told him about the time in high school. Guys, don't get any ideas. I stole liquor from his locked liquor cabinet and lied about it. While not my finest moment in life, Dad made sure I would never lie to him again. At that moment, he relaxed and smiled and calmed down because he knew it was me. As Jill said, one of Dad's best traits is what he called PMA. Boys, what's PMA?
Positive mental attitude.
Yes, sir. Positive mental attitude. Dad was always a glass is always full, not half full, but full man. He lived and breathed in a positive space. Not to say he didn't get frustrated with me, Jill, Mom, friends, etc. He did. But his mind was strong and his attitude was stronger. My whole life, he always discussed positivity and how much thinking positive really works. He didn't need those self-help books. He just knew. Honestly, he could have written one of those books. That being said, he wasn't in fantasy land. He knew bad things happen, but really believed in the power of positive mental attitude. This obviously came in handy so often in his life, but especially after the diagnosis. When the doctor in Birmingham in December of 2020, just over 3 years ago, said, "Harold, get your things in order. You maybe have 2 or 3 months to live," Dad literally laughed at him, walked out and said, "That guy doesn't have an effing clue who I am." And he did it. When Dad left Tulane after 2 years, he may or may not have been pressured by Eddie and Sophie. He talked his way into Birmingham Southern, where he buckled up and dominated school, and then was able to get into UAB Dental School. Dad then found his passion and started his own private practice, where he would go on to practice dentistry for 44 years. And he liked to remind us all it was 44 years to the day. His first practice was on Montevallo Road, which I know many remember. Then years later, he bought his own property, which he was able to redesign and remodel to his practice on Oporto, Madrid. Eventually, he sold his practice and helped integrate his patients, who he valued and cared for during his career. Most people I talk to are scared of the dentist. I think it's fear of flying is one, and going to the dentist is number two. I may be biased, but Dad was an unbelievable dentist. He had the best shot-giving techniques, always joked and laughed with his staff and patients, and except for a very few, had an amazing bedside manner. The music selection was stellar too. Dad couldn't have done it without his staff, who he loved so much. He loved you guys and appreciated all you do. Dad taught me about philanthropy and giving back. He was on the board of the United Cerebral Palsy, as many others, and as a young kid, I used to go around the neighborhood raising money for the cause. If you lived in my neighborhood, you saw me at least once a year asking for money. He then would take me to the annual event to show me where those dollars were going. He led by example, and philanthropy and giving back has become very important in my life. And now this concept is being passed on to my children, l'dor vador, from generation to generation. In around 1990, Dad took up the game of golf. I was about 11 years old. It became a passion, and he worked hard to become a good player. He went from a 26 handicap to a 13 in 1 year. I know he told everybody that. He practiced all the time, and his drive and determination showed. Luckily, I too started playing and fell in love with the game. He loved his golf crew and being on the course. First Friday games, and then Sunday games, and eventually Wednesday games. It's nice to be a dentist. He was the weatherman of the group and loved the camaraderie on the course. He loved the game, but even on a bad day of golf, he never let it ruin his day. Although he hated losing money to certain people, and you know who you are. Dad and I loved golf and went on many golf trips together over the years. We loved being together on the course or the range. He would remind me always it was just a game and to enjoy it. He took me for my high school graduation down to Florida to play, and then in 2018 took me and Jill's husband Russin to Pebble Beach and the courses around. In 2021, we played in Longboat Key with my son Drew and Russin. That day, he made it through 18 holes and did not complain once on his health or how he was feeling. Looking back through the past 3 years, I don't remember him. I don't remember him complaining once. I do know he always had FOMO, as Jill said, and just loved being part of anything social. When I went to college, Dad and I really started to become friends. While he never stopped being my dad and mentor, those college years, our relationship, became the beginning of a friendship that I will never have again in my life. Losing a father. Losing a father and best friend at the same moment is impossible to comprehend. But I'm so blessed to have had this relationship with Harold. I was blessed with amazing pledge brothers. One flew in today, a couple couldn't make it. But just like Dad at ZBT at Tulane, where they lovingly nicknamed him Happy Harold, you all had such special bonds, and Dad loved any time he could be with you. Dad would be pissed. He's going to miss your future reunions, but please make sure you guys keep Happy alive when you are together. Just like you guys love Dad, I know how much my college friends love Dad too. And Dad loved them. Father's weekend at IU were epic, and honestly, it's a blessing we all made it through those weekends alive. For our 21st birthday, a handful of my pledge brothers and our dads went to Vegas. We golfed, we gambled, we watched sports, and of course, we ate amazing meals. I can't remember if it was that trip or another, but Dad and I hit the exacta in the Kentucky Derby, and another one of us hit the trifecta. I think between us, we won about $18,000. That sports book was never the same after that afternoon, I assure you. Dad loved life, and his laugh and smile were infectious. We are all going to miss this. There's a lot of people I want to thank today. First, Rabbi Sabo, thank you for the last few weeks, constantly coming to the house. Thank you for knowing Dad, spending time with him, and thank you for all you've done for my boys and continue to do for all of the Ceitlins, Feinsteins, in Dallas. Love you. Mom, Dad was so lucky to have the best wife and caregiver possible. You stood by him through all the ups and downs for over 48 years. Those who knew Dad knew this wasn't an easy task some of the time. I'm sorry, Dad, you were not easy sometimes. As a parent now, I want to tell you that you and Dad were the best parents, and I'm so blessed to have been raised in a loving, caring, and nurturing home. Your life together was just that life. All the happiness, sadness, challenges, and everything in between. You should be so proud of the life you made with Dad. I know how much you're going to miss him, especially his one-liners you love so much. I promise you, Jill and I are going to be right next to you every step of the way in this hopefully long, healthy next chapter of your life. You're so strong and deserve to enjoy every day, and Dad would expect nothing less. As I continued to tell Dad over the last few weeks, we got you, and he doesn't have to worry. Jillian Russin, what a blessing it was that you guys made the very easy decision to move to Dallas in August. For those who don't know, it took about 3 years to convince them. It's so comforting to have you with us now in Dallas. I also know how truly comforted and happy Dad was we were all together. I really think it gave him so much peace. Jill, I never told you. But Dad talked to me multiple times about making sure I take care of you and make sure to always watch out for you. I love you and Russin and your kids, and the Ceitlin royal family are so blessed to have each other. To my wife, Carrie, I love you, and I know Dad loved you. I know sometimes his love language wasn't always ideal, but Dad was most impressed and proud of the life and family we have built. I want to thank you so much for making our home so comfortable for Dad the past couple of months of his life. It was precious time, and there are not many daughter-in-laws that would embrace what you did. And really, it was your pleasure. I will never forget this gift, and I know how much we all appreciate it, especially Mom, and I know Dad. I love you. To Drew, Lev, and Cole, you guys have been so amazing with Poppy, and he loved you all so much. Poppy loved giving you his input, whether you wanted it or not, on your lives, schools, sports, or really anything to help make you better. Dad loved teaching and watching you grow and mature, and I wish he was still going to be around, as we all need some more maturing. He had special relationships with each of you, and I know you will always remember the special times you had with him. The fact Poppy made it to your bar mitzvah in Dallas, Drew, and then to Lev's bar mitzvah in Israel last spring is something we will never forget. I've never seen my father so happy and grateful as I did when we were in Israel 9 months ago celebrating together. Boys, always remember Poppy. Always remember, Poppy wants you to grow up to be menches, have positive mental attitudes, and have great work ethic in your life in whatever you choose to do. He is counting on each of you to carry on the Ceitlin name, smile a lot, and take pride in whatever you choose to do in your life. I want to thank all my cousins for their love and support. Dad loved each of you so much, and I know We will laugh and reminisce about him for the rest of our lives. Thank you all to the Feinstein crew and extended, for all you do for the relationship and for the relationship you had with Harold. He loved each of you so much, and your constant presence at any event, happy or sad, is recognized and admired by all. I do have to say to my brother-in-law, friend and business partner, David Sacker, Harold was thinking about you until the end. And I know he's putting in a good word with God for you. To all my childhood, college, and Dallas friends, thank you for the calls, texts, love, and support. Thank you for the relationship you had with Dad, and I know he loved y'all and appreciated how much I was blessed with you guys in my life. I also have to thank Erica Martinez, who took care of Dad like it was her dad for the last 2 months of his life. And none of us, Erica, could have done it without you. You came in every day with a smile, with just a bubbly, dancing, happy face. The good, the bad, you saw it all. And you are really an angel. And God is shining his light on you. And Harold loved you. I love you, Erica. In closing, I know y'all are happy. Dad loved the Shehekianu, and it was always so important to him to say when we had holidays, family events, or just we're celebrating something together. And I would like for us all, in honor to Dad, to say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, sovereign of all, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us to this season. And of course, I have to say, roll Tide. I love you, Dad.
Thank you, Jay. Well, this moment of time, I would ask Harold's friends, David Aarons, followed by Lenny Klein and Rick Lukash, to come and share a few words.
Thank you, Rabbi. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes said, "There is no friend like an old friend who has shared our beautiful days, no greeting like his welcome, no homage like his praise." That phrase defined Harold Ceitlin. Whether you knew him 1 year or 72 years like I did, he always had that cheerful hello, insisting on buying the drinks or lunch, smiling and laughing all the time, and telling the latest jokes. The true test of Harold's friendship was that he was always there for each and every one of us. Whether it was a call from him and Jay at the 2010 Rose Bowl when Bama beat Texas, or the call I got in Austin when Harold knew I was seeing my brother for the last time. On his 70th birthday, I said words that are still true today, that when one's back is against the wall, one would want Harold standing by. I can only imagine the number of us who have benefited from Harold's support in tough times. Perhaps, friends, it's all of us. On a different note, Harold worked and strived and achieved his entire life. whether becoming an avid swimmer on the Fairmont Club swim team, excellent grades at Mountain Brook Junior High in Shades Valley, admission to Tulane, his outstanding practice as a dentist, and I am still amazed that you never had to wait. And I'm going to make a political statement that he and I would agree on. If the federal government ran the country like Harold ran his office, there would be a surplus every year instead of a deficit. Many years ago, Harold embarked on a campaign to raise the funds that put a large sign on Montclair Road so that everyone who drove by knew that it was the Jewish Community Center. Giving back was so important to Harold. As many of you remember, Harold took time off from his dental practice to go to Israel and give free services there. As Jay said, Harold was an early supporter and fundraiser par excellence for United Abilities, then known as the United Cerebral Palsy. He was an ardent Zionist and a lifelong supporter of Israel on all causes Jewish. On the 1992 Federation mission to Israel, Harold became the de facto guide when the one we had kept getting lost. How a lifelong Birminghamian could figure his way around Israel puzzles me to this day. Well, that was Harold. Recognizing how much his daddy depended on CJF as Buzz for transportation, Harold, along with Margaret and Bonita, funded the Sophie and Eddie Ceitlin Buzz Fund. Buzz is still running today, in no small measure due to their generosity. Israel Bonds and the Birmingham Jewish Federation's annual campaign were among Harold's other important philanthropies. And now, who could forget the birthday parties? The time we took over the Victoria Inn in Anniston with posters of Harold's other girlfriend, Jay Pauley, welcoming him. Another time, Julie rented a bus, and we all went gambling at the dog track in Utah. There was another occasion, Joe will remember this, we blindfolded Harold, but he knew exactly where we were going. Again, that's Harold. The culmination was his 70th birthday party at Seasons 52, where there was standing room only. Harold's guiding light and compass were Julie, Jay, Jill, and their families. Julie, you and Harold traveled the world, and together left no beach in Florida without your imprints. The two of you were a match pair, and Harold said to me on more than one occasion that no matter what, Julie loves me. What a statement of the bond that the two of you have, which Harold's passing will not diminish. Julie, all of us stand in awesome admiration for the care and compassion you showed these last 3+ years. Julie, you truly define what our sages say about a woman of valor. Jay, your dad was always proud of you. Whether it was on the basketball court with your Michael Jordan-sized feet, participating in AZA, success in Indiana, or the wonderful life that you and Carrie built in Dallas. Harold could not wait to tell me that you were president of Akiba, the Jewish Day School in Dallas, and how you excelled in your profession. The addition of the new basketball team of Drew, Lev, and Cole completed the cycle that started in Odessa through New York and Alabama and finally to Texas. Jewish roots meant a lot to Harold. Jill, each daughter is the apple of their father's eye. But to Harold, you were the whole orchard. When your folks got back from Central America and Spain, Harold would say, "It was great," because as you know, Jill speaks perfect Spanish. When they would return from DC, he would say, "It was great," because Jill knew so-and-so. He made me believe that 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue was taking orders from you. Jill, at times, you know, he wanted you to become a doctor. But I think he felt that you wouldn't just be a plain old MD, you'd have made Surgeon General. Your marriage to Russin and the advent of Javi and Somi made its last years even richer. In closing, I would like to say, rest well, friend. Zichro no livracha. Harold, may your memory be for a blessing. And roll tide.
Thank you, Mr. Lenny Klein.
Well, what I'm going to say is going to be brief, to the point, and I'm afraid it's going to be redundant. I can't top these people, particularly Jill and Jay. So here I go. Harold Ceitlin loved life. Let's list some of his favorite things. His dental practice, golf, the Crimson Tide, red GTO convertible, the stock market, investing in real estate, traveling the world, the importance of Judaism and its traditions, his sisters, his grandchildren, son and daughter-in-law, cousins, nieces and nephews, but most of all, his 3 J's, Julie, Jill, and Jay. As a friend, you always knew where you stood with Harold. In recent years, he'd let you know exactly where he stood on national politics. Need I say more? When discussing the stock market, Harold would tell you exactly what and what not to buy. And I would tease him about his advice, quote, frequently wrong, but never in doubt. For many years, he spoke of the potential rise of anti-Semitism in our country. On this, he proved to be prophetic. Harold was a great friend in good times and tough times. He had an unwavering optimism about life. Even as his health began to fail, he would talk hopefully about the years ahead. He was courageous in his fight against cancer. He knew from the outset that his prognosis was not great, but he was determined and he would not back down. We spoke only once about death, not dwelling on it, but facing it head on. It's inevitable and something we all must accept. Years ago, I came across a book entitled The Prophet. A passage from it captures what Harold and I discussed. Quote, if you would indeed behold the spirit of death, open your heart wide to the body of life. For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one. Harold, we miss you, and your memory will indeed be a blessing.
Thank you. I'd like to call upon Mr. Lukasz, Rick Lukasz, to share a few words.
So Jay asked me to speak. I visited Harold about a month ago in Dallas. So oddly enough, I was one of the first people asked to speak, but I'm speaking last, so a lot of it's going to be redundant. But I had the privilege of knowing Harold for more than 58 years. I came to New Orleans in 1965 as a Tulane freshman. There were not many Yankees from New York like me, and I found out that I knew no one, but everyone in the South that was Jewish knew everyone. But I got lucky. I became a ZBT, and I learned everything about my Pledge brothers. I learned about Mountain Brook. I learned about Shades Valley. I learned about girlfriends who I will not mention. But we all bonded, and some of our brothers are here today because we couldn't miss not being here for Harold. He was Happy Harold, and the fraternity, that was his mothership. And he prided himself in all the social activities of the fraternity. We could hear him yelling out for our fraternity formal, we need Sam and Dave, we need Junior Walker and the All-Stars, over and over and over again. We got the impressions, and we got Otis Redding, so thank you, Harold. And Saturdays, it was always, as you know, Alabama football. So, I learned about what college football was all about, and to this day, I'm living in New York, I'm still rooting for Alabama. I still have the Saints from New Orleans, and my friends at home go, I don't get it, no Jets, no Giants. I said, sorry, it's Alabama and it's the Saints, and it's Tulane football now that we went to the Cotton Bowl. But, time moves on, families grow, you separate a bit, but the one thing that drew us all back were reunions, and the ZBT fraternity reunions went on and on and on and brought us back again and again and again. Last year we were all together in New Orleans, and in April we were lucky enough to be in Israel with Harold and Julie, and my wife Yaf and I caught up with them. And we also then, as life got older and we moved on, we were able to catch up in Maine, in Israel, and obviously over and over and again with our brothers in New Orleans. So Harold and I talked often through his illness. I'm a surgeon, and we bounced a lot of things off of each other. But the one thing about Harold was his optimism through the whole thing. He was looking forward and planning the next reunion in New Orleans, and everything was always with optimism and a smile. And I know that if he would be leaving a message for all of you, Happy Harold, as he was known, would always say to be optimistic and hopeful, and everybody stole my damn line of Roll Tide. I wrote it, but what can I tell you?
Thank you. I'd like to call upon grandchildren. Drew, Lev, Cole, come up here.
Roll Tide. Hi, I'm Drew Ceitlin, for those of you guys who don't know me. I'm Harold Ceitlin's oldest grandchild, as he like to say, his favorite oldest grandson. I'll be referring to him as Poppy for the remainder of the speech. I feel blessed because as the oldest, I got to know him the longest and learn what a special man he was, as you guys all know. I'm full of emotions, and I don't really know what it's going to be like without him, but what I do know is that it's not going to be the same. Poppy, I really miss you. Playing golf, watching Bama games just won't be the same. I'm so grateful you were able to be at me and Lev's bar mitzvah, and even more grateful I was able to have that time with you. One thing you always told me that I'll always remember is you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so use them proportionately. This is something I'm going to tell my kids one day. Poppy, I'm so sad that our time is up, but I know you're probably on Pebble Beach right now playing golf and living your best life. I love you. Roll Tide.
Good morning. My name is Cole Eddie Ceitlin, and I'm Poppy Harold's grandson. I have lots of questions about what's happened, but right now, I want to know if I can have 2 middle names. My name is Cole Eddie Ceitlin, but can I be Cole Poppy Eddie Ceitlin? I loved my Poppy so much. I loved going to visit him in Birmingham, playing golf, asking him to look at whatever I did. I loved going on beach vacations, playing cards, actually losing cards, and watching Bama games together, except when they lost. Poppy hated when my brothers and I fought, so Poppy, I'm going to try my hardest to do better at that for you. Poppy liked to remind me often to have a positive mental attitude, and Poppy, I promise to do my best to make that happen. Poppy, Drew, Lev, and I will take great care of Somi and Javi, and also to promise to love Nana extra for you. My screensaver on my phone now is a picture of you and me. It will remind me to always try to make you proud. I love you, Roll Tide.
Save the best for last. Hi, I'm Lev, the favorite grandchild. I mean a grandchild. This is really hard for me because I'm heartbroken. I can't imagine life without you. I know lots of people lose grandparents, but I really wasn't ready to lose you. Poppy was never easy on us, even if we were playing cards. He would never just let me win, not one. I mean, I'm pretty sure Nana always let me win a game or two. I had to earn it. When I golfed with him, he always made sure to critique my swing. If I was messing with my brothers, he always certainly had no problem disciplining us. This was his love language, and now that you are gone, I promise to keep my standards high like you wanted. Thank you to everyone who is here with us today. I know Poppy would be happy to know that so many people loved him so much. Poppy, you will always be in my heart. I promise to make you proud. Love you, and obviously, Roll Tide.
I would like to invite the mourners to the stage to conclude the memorial service with the mourners' Kaddish. I would like to invite to the bima. Auntie, yeah, please. Here. Page 78. I'll stand right here. You can stand in the front of the bima. Page 78.
Do you have big print?
Yeah, that's the biggest print I have. But I'll say it out loud as well.
Read it anyway.
Okay?
Yeah, I know.
Normal.
Yeah.
How about normal one? Normal.
Normal.
Yeah.
Normal.
Regular mourners Kaddish.
Normal.
Okay? יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה. בעלמא דברה חילותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהא שלומה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים טובים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום ומרבה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל,
אמרו אמן.
The Shiva will take place. I would like to invite everybody to join us to the Shiva that will take place in the social hall right here, the next door. Thank you.
Well, that was fun. Yeah. Should do that again tomorrow.